Okay, where are we going in the future? Well, there are really three things that we want to do in the future. The first thing is bridge the funding gap, and as mentioned, there is this enormous anomaly with federal funding that we'll continue to prosecute. We've had a recent submission to the Productivity Commission on disability funding that was done by an economics firm, and I hope it's an argument that we can successfully prosecute over the next year or so. The second big thing that's tremendously important is skills support. We'll do questions at the end. Oh, sorry, can you hear me now? I've normally not a problem with how loud I talk. The second big thing is school support. Many of you are now facing transitioning into the school setting. Personally, as a family, we've found that the school system is very well funded. The problem is with expertise. There is a great lack of expertise within the school system. It's not a lack of desire. It's actually not a lack of funding. Our boys have been brilliantly supported by Education Queensland from terms of resourcing. It's the expertise of the teaching people. Our little boy's in grade 5 and Andy's pretty severely autistic. And the fact that we have to show his teachers how to create a social story is testament to the real lack of skills. And this will continue while autism is an elective in special ed and while autism is not even mentioned in education programs. There are a couple of ways we want to go forward in addressing this. The first is with Griffith University, where we're very keen to develop with them an autism stream and an autism expertise within their education program. As I mentioned, we're very keen to ensure the next generation of professionals is very skilled in autism and to provide avenues for the current generation of professionals to gain those skills. The other service that we're looking to launch next year is a skills support program, which is a team of teachers and therapists that will, if you like, hold the hand of families through the schooling process. So it will be your partner through the schooling process, but also provide a resource to educationalists through the school system. Obviously, one of the problems is you can provide the support, but sometimes education won't listen, and that's a barrier that we'll have to overcome. I'm very keen about this project. We want to link it with a prospective research, collect data. So there's no long-term data on what happens with these kids, and I know James Scott, who you're going to hear talking later today, is very passionate about the idea of long-term research around the outcomes of autism. This is an unfunded program. It'll be something we'll charge for initially, but we are in active negotiations with Education Queensland about getting that support service adequately resourced. It's very, very important. The third thing, which is on a sort of 4 to 5 year timeline, but is very important to us as parents as our children get older, is what's going to happen with them when they leave school. And if your child is not able to enter the workplace, they fall into a real big hole. And one of the projects we're very keen on, and several board members are very active in developing, is a post-school life skills and vocational support program. And this program will provide these guys with a life skills program when they leave school, which will keep them busy, but also develop them the skills that they need to be independent, but will also work with workplaces to create an environment that supports the employment of a person with autism. So that's where we want to go to in the future. In closing and in welcoming the Minister, I'd like to highlight a few things from 2010. It's been a huge year. An enormous thanks to Alan, who's doing a tremendous job as CEO, and our whole team. I mentioned all those statistics, but the thing I'm most proud about with AEIOU is the quality of the program that our staff has produced that has evolved so much since 2005. And I think the fact that last year around 70% of the children were transitioning into mainstream settings, and the immediate improvement that you see with your children when they enrol is testament to the skill and passion of our team of staff and a very high quality curriculum that is continuing to enrol. I think what's fairly unique about us is that we have a rigid curriculum, and it doesn't matter whether you go to Townsville, Toowoomba, the regional centres, etc., or Brisbane, the kids are taught the same way. The first project for this year was the Nathan Centre. If you're not at Nathan, it's really worth having a look at. It's the first time we've been able to purpose build a centre. We've learned a lot out of this project. For example, the centre we had a lot of landscaping to do, and we found we had to build big retaining walls. And the interesting observation was that several of our children who would not draw on a flat surface will draw on a big retaining wall. So all our future centres will have retaining walls, even if they're built flat, so that there will be these big outdoor blackboards, because it's a wonderful learning tool for our children. We're implementing iPads now at all the centres. I think the iPads are going to be a fantastic learning tool for children with autism. If anyone's got connections to the Adam Scott Foundation, we'd love lots of iPads. I see one of his initiatives is to give iPads to children with autism. I was at a recent Ernst & Young function and had a chance to talk to one of Apple's leading app developers, and I think there's a real opportunity for our staff to start working on developing apps that can be rolled out for these kids. The second very important initiative is the Research Advisory Group. Oh, sorry, pictures of Nathan. There's the pictures of Nathan. That was the opening of the centre, and as I said, it's amazing to come from Maruka, where we started, to Nathan now. It's really symbolic of the development of the organisation. The Research Advisory Group is a really important initiative. When we set up AEIU, there was always a vision around research. We knew that we would end up with a very large cohort of children managed in a particular way, and that creates a fabulous platform for asking research questions. The Research Advisory Group has two roles. Its first role is to screen or vet outside research projects that are presented to us, to provide researchers with that opportunity, but to make sure the research programs are not going to interfere with the program that your children are participating in. The second thing that the Research Advisory Group is going to do is develop our own research projects, and we've already got 6 prospective research studies going on. We're very much about assessing our outcomes, learning what we do well, learning what we don't do well, and improve the programs, but there are many other questions we want to ask, and it's very, very important that our families participate in them. 2 particular studies are a parent wellbeing and burden study and quality of life study. I'm a cancer specialist. We fund cancer drugs by improvements of quality of life. Some cancer drugs are funded to the tune of $50,000 when they improve the life expectancy by 3 to 6 months. We don't spend the same money on a 3-year-old with autism, which always seems crazy to me. But if we're able to demonstrate significant improvements in family function and family quality of life, which is a very rapid endpoint, we have a very strong argument in going to the Federal Health Department and saying, you should be funding this. We cannot do this research without parents participating. So when a questionnaire is sent out to you by Jessica, fill it in, take the time to do it properly. It is very, very important, because the outcomes that we're able to show from that research will A, be cutting edge, B, they will find out new things, C, they will allow us to invest in strategies of doing everything better, and D, they may well improve funding. So please participate. We're already finding out interesting things. For example, we're finding out that fathers really struggle. And I guess it's not surprising if you look at the dynamics of it, but no one's ever found this before. So dads, we need you to fill these questionnaires and send them in so that we can better understand what's going on, and so we can then develop strategies that change these circumstances. So research, we're very keen on it, it's something we really want to build, and ultimately it makes for a much better program in the future. Finally, there's the Sunshine Coast project, and this is the point where I want to introduce to you the Minister, but I want to very quickly tell you about this project because I'm very excited about it. About 15 months ago, Anastasia invited us to a round table, and her challenge at that round table was to come up for the pilot project targeting a regional area of Queensland. I think from memory it was Toowoomba, Townsville or the Sunshine Coast, and to deliver a program for young children with a disability at that site and into the rural community. The project that's going to happen on the Sunshine Coast is a purpose-built integrated childcare centre for 75 children. The university is providing the land, the federal government's providing the costs of the building. This will mean that there will be 15 children with autism doing the AEIOU program in parallel with a mainstream group, and mirroring this will be a rural program delivered into the Good Start network, which, as I mentioned, has already started in Emerald, quite a pioneering program. The centre will be unique in its structure, and it will have a central control room which will have one-way windows looking into the childcare rooms, and on the opposite wall a set of flat panel TVs that, using Telstra's For the Bush program, will provide real-time vision into those childcare centres so that our specialist staff can interact directly with the program happening with those children in the rural community. The specialist staff are funded by a very large recurrent grant from the Queensland Government. Xstrata has funded Laurie, who you'll coming out for 3 years. We've stolen Laurie from Colorado, so we've got this very hyperactive redhead whose first job was to set up a service in Emerald. It gets easier after that, Laurie. But Laurie has unique international expertise in delivering of integrated services for young children with autism, including into rural communities. We've got a grant in with Autism Speaks for a PhD student to prospectively research outcomes. Fairfax Foundation is providing us with infrastructure funding, and the university is going to have training positions for their students in the program. So this is a really exciting program and going forward, and it provides a direction for how we're going to be able to roll out this service to people wherever they live. So it's been a big 5 or 6 years. I think in welcoming Anastasia, we could not have done any of this without the support of the Queensland Government, and I think as families, I know it's very hard, but I can tell you what, it's a lot harder interstate, and the services available here in Queensland are unique anywhere in Australia. Thank you very much, and welcome, Anastasia.